What is a cryptid? The word comes from the Greek kryptos, meaning hidden. Cryptids are creatures whose existence is suggested but not confirmed by science. Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster. But among them, there is a darker kind, a more unsettling subset, humanoid cryptids. These are creatures that almost look like us, but not quite. They're the ones that stare back from the woods, knock on windows at night, or crawl just beneath the bed frame. They belong to folklore, to internet horror forums, to desperate whispered testimonies. They blur the boundary between man and monster, between myth and madness. This list dives into 7 of the most unnerving humanoid cryptids ever reported, from ancient indigenous legends to modern creepypasta nightmares. Each one carries with it not only fear, but a mirror, showing us what we might become, or what might already be watching us. Prepare yourself, some of these creatures may follow you long after the screen goes dark. In the high desert mesas and wide plains of the American Southwest, there are stories you are not supposed to tell. Stories passed down through generations of the Navajo people, whispered around fires with wary glances to the dark. Among them is one of the most feared entities in all indigenous lore, the Skinwalker, known in Navajo as Yinaldlushi, which roughly translates to, "With it, he goes on all fours." The Skinwalker is said to be a malevolent witch who has gained the power to transform into animals. But not just any animals, ones that move wrong. Coyotes with eyes that reflect red even without light. Owls that speak with human voices. Wolves that stand too tall. Unlike many legends, skinwalkers are not seen as cryptids in the traditional sense. They are not animals nor undiscovered species. They are people, or once were. Witches who have committed unspeakable taboos to gain dark magic, murder of a close family member, desecration of sacred ground, consumption of human flesh. The transformation is not a gift, it is a curse. The fear surrounding skinwalkers is so profound that many Navajo people refuse to even speak the name aloud, fearing it may attract attention. And while outsiders have sensationalized the tale, there are countless testimonies within tribal communities that suggest these entities are more than mere metaphor. One such account came from a family living near Shiprock, New Mexico. They reported being stalked over several nights by a creature that looked like a coyote. But its eyes glowed yellow, even in daylight, and it moved without sound across gravel and dried leaves. On the 4th night, the creature stood upright outside their window. What they saw, they said, was not an animal. It was a man, wearing the skin of something else. And then there is the infamous Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, a hotspot for strange phenomena. Located in the Uinta Basin, the ranch has been the site of unexplainable events since the 1990s. Cattle mutilations, strange lights in the sky, electromagnetic disturbances, and, yes, humanoid figures with glowing red eyes spotted lurking near fence lines. Some researchers believe the land is a nexus for paranormal activity. Others think it is cursed, but those who have spent time there often leave with the same conclusion. Something is watching. The Skinwalker legend terrifies because it strips away comfort. These creatures aren't bound by form. They know your land, they know your name, and they used to be human. In the snowbound forests of the northern United States and Canada, a different kind of fear stalks the pine-shadowed wilderness. To the Algonquian-speaking peoples, Ojibwe, Cree, and others, it is known as the Wendigo, a malevolent spirit of winter, starvation, and unending hunger. The Wendigo is not merely a creature, it is a fate, described as gaunt, elongated and corpse-like. Its skin is said to be stretched tight over bones, gray or ash-colored, with glowing eyes and jagged teeth like icicles. It is often depicted with bloody lips, an odor of decay, and a heart of ice. Some versions give it antlers, others say it has no recognizable face at all. But all legends agree on one thing: it was once human. According to legend, when a person resorts to cannibalism, especially in times of extreme desperation, they risk becoming a Wendigo. The transformation is irreversible. The human soul is devoured by greed, by gluttony, by the cold. From then on, the Wendigo roams the forest, always starving, never satisfied. Its hunger is infinite, and so is its rage. One of the most haunting tales comes from a trapper named Douglas Grant, who in 1921 vanished near the Alberta border. His diary was later recovered from an abandoned cabin. The final pages became frantic, describing hearing howls from deep in the trees and finding enormous footprints, bare, misshapen, and steaming in the snow. On the last entry, scrawled with trembling hand, it read, "It's watching from the tree line, not an animal, not a man. I can hear it breathe." Cultural anthropologists note that Wendigo stories may have served as a moral warning. Don't eat human flesh, don't isolate yourself, and don't allow greed to consume you. But some believe these legends are based on real sightings of something unnatural in the woods. Tall, skeletal figures glimpsed through a storm, screams in the distance that mimic human voices, or a sense of being followed on snowshoes, only to turn and find no one there. Wendigo psychosis was even proposed by early psychologists as a cultural bound syndrome, an irrational craving for human flesh and fear of becoming a monster. Whether it was metaphor, myth, or mental illness, the stories endure because winter comes for us all. And in the silence of deep snow, there is something that still walks, driven by hunger that has no end. Unlike the ancient legends of skinwalkers and wendigos, the Rake is a product of the digital age. Yet it feels no less terrifying. Born from internet forums and creepypasta culture in the early 2000s, the Rake has taken root in modern mythology as one of the most unsettling humanoid entities ever described. The creature is often portrayed as pale, naked, and hairless, with elongated limbs and bony fingers tipped in claws. It walks on all fours but can rise to a crouched bipedal stance. Its face is often blank, no nose, no ears, and black sunken eyes. The Rake is not known for roaring or shrieking. It whispers, it watches, and sometimes it perches at the edge of your bed. One of the most circulated stories involves a family in rural upstate New York. According to the tale, they were woken in the middle of the night by heavy breathing and soft clicking sounds. The father, thinking it was a raccoon or opossum, checked the hallway. Empty. But when he returned to the bedroom, his daughter was sitting bolt upright in bed, staring at the footboard. She said, "There's a man in here." He turned. It was crouched on all fours, pale and thin, its body trembling as if it were vibrating. It stared for a long moment before slipping beneath the bed with inhuman silence. By the time they turned on all the lights, the creature was gone. The daughter was never the same. Critics claim the Rake is a fabrication, a digital ghost story experiment born on platforms like 4chan or Something Awful. And yet, thousands of people have reported eerily similar sightings, a hairless humanoid crawling like an animal, seen in bedrooms, forests, or abandoned buildings. Some researchers believe it has become a modern archetype, an internet-born boogeyman shaped by collective fears of invasion, helplessness, and the violation of personal space. There are even video recordings, grainy, low-resolution clips, purporting to show Rake-like creatures. In one, a figure is spotted crouching at the edge of a child's crib before darting out of frame. In another, a pale humanoid sprints across a rural road in the dead of night. Whether a psychological projection or something darker feeding off belief, the Rake thrives in the digital dark. And like all modern myths, its greatest weapon is its familiarity. It doesn't haunt deep woods or cursed lands. It waits just out of view in the comfort of home. They knock when the night is darkest. Two children, boy and girl, stand at your door, heads down, voices too calm, words too formal. They ask to come inside. They need to use your phone. They are always polite. But something is wrong. Their clothes are outdated. Their skin is pale. And when they finally look up, you see the truth. Their eyes are completely black. No whites, no irises, just endless darkness. The legend of the black-eyed children first gained traction in the 1990s when a Texas journalist named Brian Bethel reported an unsettling encounter. While parked in a lot late at night, two boys knocked on his car window. They asked for a ride. Something in their tone felt rehearsed, too calm. And when Bethel's eyes finally met theirs, he felt overwhelming dread. He refused. The boys grew insistent. Then they vanished. Since then, thousands of people around the world have claimed to encounter similar children, always in pairs, always appearing in the late hours, always asking to be let in. Those who report encounters describe an immediate sense of fear, nausea, or dread, as though their instincts scream to run. One man in rural Vermont shared his story online. At around 2 a.m., he heard a knock at the door. Two children, perhaps 10 and 13, stood outside. No emotion on their faces. They asked to come in and wait for their parents. The man hesitated. As he asked questions, they grew more urgent. "We can't come in unless you invite us," they said. When he refused, the girl's expression twisted into something resembling a sneer. The boy tilted his head unnaturally. Then they both turned and walked off into the woods without another word. Theories abound. Some link them to alien-human hybrids. Others believe they are demons in disguise, requiring permission like old vampire myths. Still others suggest they are psychic projections, feeding off fear. What's consistent is the reaction, a primal alarm that rings in the gut before the mind can make sense of it. The black-eyed children tap into our deepest fear, the uncanny, the not quite human. They wear the mask of innocence, but behind it is something ancient, something cold. So if two children knock on your door tonight asking to come in, don't look them in the eyes. Deep within the dark, tangled pine barrens of southern New Jersey lurks a legend that has terrified locals for over 250 years. It is said to be a creature born of a curse, a flying, hooved horror that emerges on stormy nights. The Jersey Devil. According to folklore, in 1735, a woman named Mother Leeds discovered she was pregnant with her 13th child. Overwhelmed by poverty and despair, she cursed the unborn baby, crying, "Let it be the devil." When the child was born, it appeared human, but within moments it transformed. Wings sprouted, its legs twisted into cloven hooves. It grew horns and a serpent-like tail. It screamed, then flew up the chimney and into the woods. Since then, reports of the Jersey Devil have persisted through the centuries. Witnesses describe a creature around 4 feet tall, with leathery bat wings, a goat-like head, glowing red eyes, and an ear-splitting scream. It flies erratically, sometimes attacking livestock, sometimes merely circling overhead in the dead of night. The most famous surge in sightings came in January 1909, when hundreds of people across New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania reported encountering the beast. Schools closed, armed posses were formed, newspapers fanned the flames of hysteria. Even police officers claimed to have seen it. Strange hoofprints appeared in the snow, on rooftops, in fields, and mysteriously ending in the middle of roads with no sign of continuation. Skeptics suggested a misidentified large bird, a prank, or mass delusion fueled by media sensationalism. But for the residents of the Pine Barrens, it wasn't just a story, it was a warning. To this day, the creature is blamed for eerie sounds, dead animals, and the unshakable feeling of being watched beneath the dense pine canopy. The Jersey Devil occupies a unique place in American folklore, part cryptid, part demon, part cursed child. It's a reminder that even in the age of science, there are still dark corners on the map, places where myths breathe and curses fly on tattered wings. Some monsters are born from darkness, others are born from the internet. The Slender Man first appeared in 2009 on an internet forum called Something Awful. Users were challenged to create realistic paranormal images. One user photoshopped a tall, faceless man in a black suit standing ominously in the background of playground photos. From there, the legend grew like wildfire. Slender Man is typically described as inhumanly tall, sometimes 8 to 10 feet, dressed in a dark suit and tie, with elongated limbs, no face, and a head that is disturbingly smooth and featureless. He is said to lurk in forests, watch from the edges of schools or homes, and influence the minds of those who see him, especially children. Unlike traditional monsters, Slender Man doesn't attack in the conventional sense. He infiltrates thoughts, warps perception, plants paranoia. What began as a fictional horror meme evolved into an internet phenomenon. Dozens of short stories, games, photos, and videos portrayed Slender Man as a supernatural predator whose presence alone was enough to drive victims to madness. And, tragically, in 2014, a real-world stabbing occurred in Wisconsin involving two 12-year-old girls who claimed they acted under Slender Man's influence. Though fictional, his story had bled into reality. This raises profound questions. What makes a monster real? Is it flesh and blood or belief and fear? Psychologists suggest Slender Man is a digital tulpa, a thought form given life through collective belief. The more people discuss and fear him, the more real he becomes in the cultural psyche. Slender Man is the modern boogeyman. He doesn't just reflect our fear of being watched or followed, he embodies how folklore adapts to our changing world. In the 21st century, myths spread at the speed of Wi-Fi. What once took centuries to become legend now takes days or even hours. And while Slender Man may have no physical form, he's become one of the most recognizable humanoid cryptids of the modern age. Not because he is seen, but because he is believed. Of all the creatures on this list, none inspire such visceral fear as the pale crawlers. Unnamed, emaciated humanoids reported in forests, tunnels, caves, and backwoods trails across the world. Sometimes called crawlers or flesh gates, these entities are often seen at the edge of human settlements or deep in the wilderness, moving unnaturally and watching from the dark. Witnesses describe them as humanoid, hairless, and corpse-pale. Their limbs are too long, their movements spider-like, their heads sunken as if deflated. They are nearly always silent, except for the sound of scraping claws or shallow, ragged breathing. And worst of all, they seem aware. One chilling encounter was posted by a group of hikers exploring a rarely used trail in the Pacific Northwest. As dusk fell, they heard rustling ahead and assumed it was a deer. But as they approached, they saw something crouched low in the brush. It turned to face them, gaunt, white-skinned, eyeless. It bolted into the trees, not on 2 feet, but on all fours, its movements jagged, twitching like a broken puppet. The hikers turned back immediately, but one swore he saw it again, hours later, at the edge of their campfire light, just standing still. Other reports come from abandoned mines, Appalachian hollows, even the outskirts of suburban neighborhoods. In many stories, the creature vanishes if approached, but leaves behind a putrid stench, like rotting meat and damp soil. Some accounts speak of them mimicking human voices in the distance, calling for help in a childlike tone, luring victims deeper into the woods. Paranormal researchers speculate that these crawlers might be a species of undiscovered subterranean predator or even interdimensional beings that can slip between realities. Others draw comparisons to the Native American wampus or the Irish slua side, malevolent spirits of the lonely wilderness. But perhaps the most disturbing theory is that they are what becomes of us when the veil tears. A pale echo, a failed version, a warning. What makes the pale crawlers so terrifying is their silence. They do not announce themselves. They do not roar. They do not chase. Until you're alone. Until you've ignored the warnings. Until you're just far enough from help. If you hear something skitter across the roof of your tent or see a pale shape watching from the woods, do not investigate. Some things are meant to stay hidden. Humanoid cryptids frighten us not because they are completely alien, but because they are almost familiar. They walk like us, wear our faces in twisted forms, and tap into fears buried deep in our collective memory. Whether rooted in folklore, shaped by digital storytelling, or whispered through first-hand accounts, these entities blur the line between myth and possibility. They remind us that monsters aren't just found in ancient texts or horror films. They live in the woods behind our homes, the shadows in our bedrooms, and sometimes in the quiet corners of our own minds. Which creature unsettled you the most? Have you or someone you know encountered something that defies explanation? Share your stories in the comments. You never know who else has seen what hides in the dark.